It's wax processing time, and this year I'm going to use a solar processor that I threw together with a bunch of stuff I had at home. Didn't cost me anything because I already had this styrofoam cooler, and then I already had the, if you can look in there, you see there's this fine mesh. That's a 5-gallon bucket paint strainer that you can get at paint supply stores for like $1 or so. And I already had one of those from last year. And then just a sheet of plexiglass that came off of an old broken frame that we had. In the bottom, I lined the cooler with some tin foil, and then I put 3 or so cups of water in that, and then suspended over that water in the filter is all of the wax cappings and all the other pieces of wax that I've collected over the last few months. And it's now in the sun, and what will happen, or at least hopefully, is this will trap and collect all the heat. It'll get hotter and hotter and hotter, melt the wax and all of the honey that's in that wax that didn't come out. It'll drip through the filter, hit the water. The honey and other impurities will dissolve in the water. The wax will float to the top, and then once it's all run through the filter, I will then take this inside, let it solidify, and then I'll be able to reach in and pull out a brick of relatively clean beeswax. Last year I tried a different method where I boiled the wax in water and then poured that slurry through one of these paint filters into a bucket. But that was really messy, and I've seen online people seem to have fairly good success with this method. So what now has to happen is I just need to sit here, let it sit here undisturbed for several hours, get hotter and hotter, and melt that wax. So this has been baking in 90+ degree heat for several hours now. Lots of condensation, but that's not going to be a problem. If you look inside, you can already see most of the wax has dripped through. So I'll give it a little while longer just to see if more comes out. I brought the cooler in because I don't think I'm going to get any more. And this is what we are left with. This residue here in the filter. I don't know if there's a more technical name for it, but from what I've seen, everybody calls it slum gum. It's just going to be thrown away. But then underneath it, there is the wax that is floating there on top of the water with the honey and all the other things in the water below it. After letting it cool, pulling it out of the cooler, and then rinsing it off to get rid of the liquid, this is what is left of the beeswax. There's still a little bit of sheen of honey on it, so I might have to clean it just a little bit more. But it's actually, I mean, there are some impurities in it still, but it's actually a lot cleaner and a lot easier process than what I did last year. This is the beeswax that I got from last year, and I did this using the method of boiling it in water and then pouring it through a sieve and a filter bag and then letting it cool on top of the water. And I had to do that multiple times, and I still ended up with a lot of impurities in it. And it just doesn't look as nice and yellow and fresh as this. Granted, this stuff from yesterday is, you know, it's not in a nice disc, and so I may have to clean it and see if I can melt it down and make it more usable format. But using that solar wax melter was a whole lot easier than the boil and pour method. So I think that's a success. That's probably how I'll keep doing it from now on, and